And the other recorder. Okay. So we're all recording and live and just wait for Gary. It's ringing him. He's still ringing though.
He's still waiting for his pre-order to go through.
Who pre-orders that?
You have to be quick to beat me. Right. Well, we might as well just dive straight in there. So, so the stream's on. Anyway, hello, Gary. Welcome.
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 Apologies for that. This is the wonders of Windows 8. It decided to reboot on me as I was going into Skype.
We should be talking Windows 8 this evening.
You need some of those pre-RTM updates. That's what you need. Sorry, pre-general availability updates.
I think it might have been one of those. What's it?
I think it's going out. Feels funny with the. I've got the little monitor that I used for this QL at the user group, so rather than my normal large TV. So, right. Oh, look, we've got someone in the chat room. Right, which is now too far down for me to see because I'm sat up. I'm not in a comfortable position this evening because of the monitor failure. But never mind. What I need is a Surface.
Yes.
Right. Well, before we talk, let's say hello to Gary Whittaker and Jason Coombs.
Good evening.
Hello, Ian. Hello, Gary.
Yeah, good to have you back, Gary.
It's good to be back. It seems to have ages ago I was on the show.
It was the live show, probably. The Teams group.
I think Gary's taken the easy option so he doesn't break any NDAs. Just don't appear on the show.
Yeah, that's been difficult the last few weeks.
And hello to everybody in the chat room. So it's Rich and John Hill are in there, and a couple of others. So Diard is in there. He asked where Andrew is. Andrew's on a work do or something tonight, wasn't he? I think he said.
It's Strictly, isn't it? You won't see him for.
He's so engrossed because Strictly It Takes Two or whatever it's on every night now. He hasn't got any time to do anything else because he's too busy catching up on that. Either that or I'm not sure if he's secretly a producer or something, or even a trainer, or I'm not sure.
He's a coach, obviously. That's what the spandex is all about.
What he's doing, yeah.
I just put in the chat room that is actually going to be a host of the Gadget Show with his new busy mate Jason.
Could be in the spandex presenter, maybe.
Yeah, it could do.
His thing. Right. Well, we've got a good show tonight. I think we've got plenty to talk about, and let's have a look. So we've got Raspberry Pi things, Xbox Music, some Android stuff, some XBMC stuff, and a new product that you may have heard of called Microsoft Surface. So let's start off with Microsoft Surface. So let's take. So what happened? It's interesting actually. Things going up and down and things today. So who wants to start us off? What happened today? As a Tuesday.
So someone sort of announced pricing, then took it away and brought it back up again.
I think there might have been a couple of embargoes broken early. I think Microsoft published its own page by mistake, and then everyone thought, right, well, I'm going to publish my articles, and
yep.
Yeah.
And then that page got pulled, and I think it all turned into a bit of a sham. But anyway, the important thing is that we've got some pricing at last.
Yeah. So what happened is I think the pricing page went up. Everybody posted all their stuff, and I guess there was a lot of people who had NDA embargoed stuff, like people like Ed Bott, who seemed to have already been to Microsoft and seen it. And I think they all stuck their stuff out because Microsoft blew it. So
yeah.
But then anyway, they took the post down, then they put the post back up, and we've got pricing. So, Jason, as you're such the fan of the Surface, start off. So what is the pricing options for the Surface?
So I'll try and cover both US and UK price if I can remember them. But so there's, I think the one that really caused the most discussion on Twitter today was the basic version, which doesn't include the touch cover. which is coming out at $399 in the UK and $499 in the US, which is the same price as the 16 gigabyte iPad. And I think people were expecting that it was going to undercut that, but I think it's important to remember that when you look at the 32 gigabyte iPad, it's actually the same price as the Surface with the touch cover, which I think is getting up to this is it 699? No, 599.
Yeah, 599. Well,
Yeah,
the
599
iPad.
mark.
Oh, sorry, the
Sorry, the iPad 599 for the 32 gigabyte version is actually the same price as the 32 gigabyte Surface that comes with the touch cover. And I think it's also important to remember that Surface includes a full, almost full desktop suite, certainly from a consumer perspective.
Yeah, I suppose actually that's a good point, that, because I bought numbers for the iPad because I needed to do some spreadsheet type stuff when I was away, and it's quite expensive. So when you start adding that all up, I suppose that actually does make a bit of a difference.
Yeah,
I
there's
think
a good
so.
point
And
there.
then,
I mean, sorry, Jason, you carry on.
no, I was just going to finish off and say then there's the top of the range Surface RT, which is the 64 gigabyte model, which I think was that's the 799 in the States, isn't it? I think, and 559 in the UK. So the positive thing for me is that they haven't done which quite often happens, they haven't done a straight dollar for pound conversion. And I do wonder, I know Mark said that they're not against people, other retailers buying stock and reselling it. So I wonder if maybe a month or two after launch, we won't start to see these appear on Amazon with a discount.
Yeah, and I think the pound for dollar thing is quite big, because that's really unusual for Microsoft not to do an exact pound for dollar conversion. Although they recently have been a bit more fair on us. So 399 is a bit more attractive than 499 would certainly have been. But I have to say I'm a little bit disappointed in the pricing. I think because I know they've gone along and they said they've got to compete with the iPad, but I'm not actually sure that's the market they should be competing against, because the iPad's almost established, whereas you've got the people who get out there who haven't bought something at the moment, and are they going to go? If they haven't bought an iPad already, are they not going to be looking at the Android and tablets and thinking they're somewhat cheaper than this?
I don't know. I think I think people will actually. I think it's actually good in a way that it's priced the same as the iPad, because I think it shows it's to the same level of an aspirational device as the iPad is. So I think people potentially will look at them both from that perspective. It gives it a similar level in terms of its quality and build and features, and the fact that it comes with more storage. I think the only thing I would have liked to have seen to really differentiate it was that the cheapest version included the touch cover. I think that would have been a nice differentiator.
Yeah, I think then I would have perceived it as much better value for money, because if you then compared it with the only Android stuff which has got keyboards on it, it would have been very similar pricing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think I have a problem with this because I think I would have. So 399, you can get a pretty good netbook, and I know there's always that conversation about iPads versus iPads rather than netbooks, but the market you're looking at here, we're talking about the Office suite and things like that. You can do those on a netbook. I know the specs are better, but the RT is so restricted because of the fact you've only got the start screen apps, whatever we call them these days, Windows 8 type apps.
Windows 8 store apps.
That's Windows 8 store apps, or whatever you want to call them, and they are so locked down. I mean, some of the stuff that you just can't do with Windows 8 apps. So the marketplace restrictions on that are quite frustrating for developers. I mean, like, you can't use anything which uses a back-end server unless it's freely available, and all sorts of things which are very, very difficult to actually work with. I think that's going to restrict the number of good apps out there. But that's good apps out there. There are some really good apps going out. But I still feel that the RT has got all those restrictions over and above a full-blown Windows 8 machine at the moment. Because at the moment we've still got all the legacy desktop apps, which are the things people want to use. And to some extent, I think there's going to be some disappointment because they can't use those. On the other hand, I know, Jason, you've said in the past the clean break idea is a really good one in some ways, and it certainly worked with Windows Phone.
Yeah, I would counter that with that. For me, it's going to be nice to have a device that I can recommend to people, because the reason why I've been recommending friends and family to get an iPad is because of that PC complex issue. That they're so easy to break, and the kids install all kinds of software and add and remove features, and people just don't know what they're doing. Whereas I think that's the strength of the Windows RT, that it is a comparison of an iPad, and that it should just work. It's not going to be possible to install bloatware and all sorts of toolbars and this, that, and the other that really slows the thing down and really impacts the experience. The experience should stay the same from the day you purchased it.
And that is a very good point. I do totally accept that. That's the one thing it has really got going for it. I just think there's going to be a trade-off here, because there will be a lot of people for whom it's absolutely perfect. I can see some of my family members being absolutely perfect for them. But I think it's the expectations. I think when you put the Windows name on something, there's an expectation it's going to run certain software. And if it doesn't, then, or there's no Metro equivalent of that software, then I think there may be some disappointment. Although, have to say, as you said, it has got the Office suite on, which is probably the main thing most people run on Windows.
I mean, I've been kind of running a semi-experiment. The big gap in my experiment is the fact that my wife uses Media Center, but I've been trying to use the Iconia in a way that it is as if it's an RT device without installing the legacy apps. Probably the exception for me is that I install the SkyDrive desktop app, but I've been trying to use it that way so that I know whether or not I can get along with the Windows RT. And for me, I think it's going to be the same thing, that I want that break, and I don't want the issue of trying to update my NVIDIA graphics drivers or my sound drivers or this, that, and the other. I just want something that is going to work and is going to be reliable. And at the end of the day, there is this, the Surface is, it's got this Vapor Mag casing, and it's got the Gorilla Glass 2, and all these sorts of things that it does. I think it is, it is a high end device. I just, to recap, I just wish they'd included that touch cover, because I think that the way they launched it, whenever it was back in the summer, they didn't specifically say it, but it came across as an integral part of the device, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, they did actually mention the type cover, didn't they, before as well? So you could actually have the keyboard cover as an alternative, which is out £109.99, which I think it seems a bit extravagant to me. But I think the pricing, I think the accessory pricing is a bit extreme. I mean, over 100 quid for a cover seems a bit much.
It would have been easy, or it would have been great, like you said, it would have been a great selling feature to include the keyboard, because then, that really does make the difference. Yes, the storage is more for the same price as the iPad, and let's face it, this is what this is going directly head to head with. That's how Microsoft have decided that with the pricing. So giving the keyboard included would have made a big difference. I wouldn't be surprised to see it included at some point in the future, because the keyboard is such an integral part of it. Yes, okay, you don't need to give away the other one, the other keyboard. Sell that one, the touch one. Sorry, the typewriter one. Yeah, but the other one is does make it expensive, because I've ordered one, but I've gone for the touch cover one, so it's like $479. So it's cost more than a 16 gig iPad, but then that's with the iPad, I would buy a cover, but I usually buy covers off eBay for £4, as opposed to the 30 quid ones.
Yeah. And you can get a keyboard cover for the iPad for about 12 quid off eBay if you really look. So
yeah,
I mean, I do. Sorry, Jess.
So I was just going to say, I think that the main reason for my disappointment with the touch cover not being included is because, for me, it's the touch cover with the built-in keyboard. It's that sets Windows 8 apart. It's the fact that it has that dual personality in terms of consumption and the ability for real creation without some Bluetooth keyboard or some unwieldy attachment. And that's why I think, for me, it's the touch cover is all part of the whole experience. And I think not to include that is a real shame.
Yeah, especially as a lot of the advertising seems to be emphasising the keyboard, which is the stuff that's been surfacing recently. So that was unintentional.
And I think in another way, another barrier that we're seeing is that there isn't the 16 gigabyte version, which could have come in at $299, and it's clearly the reason for that is that Windows and Office would fit. Yeah. So I think it's a shame in a way that they hadn't managed to get RT down to that sort of size, because I think to offer a $299 version with 16 gig, because all the Galaxy tabs have got 16 gig options. The iPad's got a 16 gig option, and I think that would have been a nice entry level Surface.
But I found, yes, you're right. It would have been probably at entry level, but I had the 16 gig iPad, the original iPad, and found that just not too small. The 32 gig one I found just about right, and the 16 gig Nexus a bit small as well. And that's without sort of knowing how much operating system that Windows would take. I mean, that's one thing that I've seen lots of people saying, but look at this, the Surface offers double the iPad, double the storage of the iPad, but how much of that is available to a user? So you've got a brand new machine. I wonder how much is available when you look at the disk drive compared to what's available on a say a Nexus or an iPad. But
yeah, that's a good point then, because you don't know how much of it's actually going to be in ROM, the operating system. I assume most of it, but how much cache does it need? All those sort of things which Windows has, which other things don't have. Well, Android does to some extent, but certainly iPhone.
But I mean, so I was thinking with the something like the Nexus, though, there is a bug in the operating system where when you have less than 4 gig storage, it virtually grinds to a halt. And so it's really easy to get to that with just putting a few files on there. So there's all things like that. But I think overall, I think the Surface is fairly reasonable price. I would have liked to have seen a more aggressive price and really differentiate it, but I think it looks good. There's some comments in the chat room about remote desktop not being supported. I know Jason, you said it is, and someone else said it doesn't. It says on the online store that it's not supported, but I think by that it means the server element of it is not supported. It's still an RDP client, and Airbot has got that, and there's a link for that in the chat room as well. So. I mean, that's basically what I can see I'll be using it for is a Windows tile. And when I need to get into the office, I can remote desktop straight onto a server, like I do with my iPad, to be honest. I mean, I think if it wasn't for the fact of this site and all the kind of gadget things that we do, I probably wouldn't, a normal consumer having an iPad wouldn't buy one of these. But I think it does give us that sort of third option. So you've got the choice of Android, Windows, and iOS now, which I think is great to have those options.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I don't know if you can bring up the Microsoft Store site, but there's some slightly contradicting information, because when you look at the popular add-ons, so it's got the 3 options to purchase with the 399 version, without black touch cover. But then you look at the popular add-ons and it says add-on touch cover, black touch cover included with purchase of Surface, which seems a bit odd. And then also if you click on the help me choose, which helps you choose between touch versus the type cover, it actually mentions your purchase of Surface with Windows RT includes a sleek black touch cover.
Yeah,
I think they've got a few loose ends to tie up on the website.
Yeah.
So I see one of the loose ends they have tidied up is the whole business about the fact that the Windows Office and Home Student till 2013 is the preview option. It says it will be updated to the full version via Windows Update at some point.
Yeah,
but it is very clear it's not. It's for non-commercial, non-profit or revenue-generating activities and not allowed.
Yeah, because everyone sticks to that.
Yeah. What are you going to do if you're out and about and someone say, "Oh, can you just edit this spreadsheet and send it me back?" Oh, I can't do that. That's for work.
That's what you're supposed to say.
I've got to refuse. Well, I suppose you remote desktop onto your company machine then.
Yeah, do it that way. Yeah.
I wonder, because one of the things I would have liked to be able to do is to be able to customize the order, that if you want to order the 32 gigabyte with touch cover, that you could have chosen the color.
Well, you can, but you pay the full price.
Yeah.
so that you can, that's the premium you pay if you want to have a color. I would have preferred the cyan color, perhaps, or the whatever they're describing that as, but I didn't want to pay the extra, so I've got the black.
Let's see if they're clever enough. I'm going to try doing a pre-order for the 399, but order a cyan touch cover.
Well, you'll pay the full. So it'll be before sort of $4.98 or whatever it is, won't it?
Yep. Well, if you do the 30 gig with black touch cover, and then put the cyan on it.
You'll end up with 2.
2 covers.
2 covers, yeah. Depending on your mood. Depending on what you're wearing. But I think, yeah, pricing is pretty much as everybody expected. It is a shame that they haven't been more aggressive, but yeah, I think they are saying it's a premium product. But whether it truly is the Intel one, yes, it is because that is a non-compromise device. But then I still think the Intel one won't have the battery life, and it'll still have the heat and the weight and everything else. So I expect that really the RT one is the future. I mean, at the end of the day, I think essentially this is the future of Windows. What you're looking at here, the Intel and certainly the legacy desktop is that its legacy, and we'll see things move up. I just hope that the apps are out there. I mean, it'd be great not to have to carry my laptop around if I could just get away with using this, but I suspect I'm still going to come stuck with like podcast editing, video editing. Still going to need a laptop to do. So it's still not a replacement.
Yeah, I certainly see that, and as I said, I think there's. I mean, Neil Gersberg's written a couple of bits on Twitter about the restrictions on the App Store and how it really affects the stuff he's trying to do. And I think that the marketplace, Windows Store, whatever it's called this week, is so difficult to get things into, which do go beyond the sort of the stuff which sits on the surface. That's, again, I suppose that's probably why the name, because it's very surface. It's very, I don't know. There's nothing you can do things, but you can't do too much in depth on it at the moment. But that may change. I mean, the apps may come. I mean, there are some nice apps out. The Cyberlink have got a couple of nice Metro apps up there. The Netflix app's pretty good because that's been launched recently as well. So, so there are some good stuff, consumption apps like that. I just think the creation stuff is maybe a little bit lacking.
But you've got to think that due to the fact that's kind of annoyed some people, like the fact that Metro or whatever you call it, Windows Store apps are in the desktop version, it does mean then that developers can target the desktop, and it therefore is in the it's on the Surface as well. So that is, I know, Jace, that's something you've said from day one. That is the main benefit of having one version of Windows and not splitting out the desktop and the tablet ones, is that these apps will get developed. So while on my desktop machines, I virtually never use the Metro apps. I can see that at some point maybe I will start using those a bit more as I get used to using them on the Surface and sort of share data between them.
Yeah, I think I mean, it's certainly interesting that the Windows 8 upgrade went straight to the #1 Amazon sellers list. So clearly the people that have been testing it have gone straight to order the upgrades. And somebody, Richard Hayes from the Windows Observer website, sent me a link to the Time a piece on the Surface, which I've posted into the chat room. But I thought it was interesting. They were talking about the consumer experience, and it says that consumers who buy a Surface at Microsoft Store will get a personalised white glove introduction to their new Surface tablet, including unboxing, etc. It also then goes on to say that those store staff will also be responsible for telling shoppers how Surface relates to Windows 8 tablets and various forms of tablet hybrids. They'll need to explain what software Surface Windows RT operating system can run, etc. So it does look like Microsoft are training their staff to make sure people understand the difference before they purchase one. But obviously the issue is going to be the people that just order them online, not without a full understanding of the difference.
I guess one of the real positives is we are talking about being able to order it in the UK.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Actually, I wasn't sure even till this morning.
Yeah. I mean, that's a huge positive. So I'm not saying there's everything negative here, and in some ways the pricing for the UK is better, almost than I expected. I think the pricing for the US is worse than I expected. So it's one of those things.
I mean, like I say, I think it was actually spot on with where I was expecting it to be. Also, some chat in the chat room about whether or not it supports 3G dongles. I thought that they'd developed class drivers that meant it would.
There's a whole lot of stuff about whether, because it's only RT certified USB devices which work with it, isn't it?
Right, I'm with you. Okay.
So I'm not quite sure whether that's going to be one of the ones which don't. If the 3G ones will work. I mean, you're right. They were talking about writing a class driver for them. I mean, you've got to have something like that unless you're going to work with some sort of form of tethering or
yeah, that's what I would do.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously an untethered tether, a Wi-Fi hotspot type thing. But yeah, I mean, that's a interesting. Like the whole driver thing is another thing because people expect things to be able to plug in. People are going to expect to be able to plug their cameras into it, and it's going to work. But is that going to be the case?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
that's what I want to see. Is like, are we going to get a video editing app? So can I use my flip camera, take some video at CES, plug camera in, edit it on the Surface, post it up to YouTube, and can I leave my MacBook at home?
Yeah, well, someone may well write the video editing thing with the sandbox in the Metro. They probably won't be able to access your camera USB anyway.
I know. I'm pretty certain there was something quite early on in the Building Windows 8 blog that was talking about these class drivers because they needed people. People would expect that they could just plug almost any device into these things and that they would just work rather than having to write specific drivers for like Vodafone's 3G dongle or O2's 3G dongle, etc. So hopefully it should be some good cross compatibility. But then, as you say, at the end of the day, it is a different animal. It is Windows RT. It is recoded for ARM, recompiled for ARM. So
that's another good reason, though. That's another great reason to have that break from the past because that what you said there is a great example of drivers I really hate. We have them in the office. We have some of these 3G dongles, and their software that they install is horrible. And it takes over the system, and it takes over the wireless settings. And then, so we get the users, we give them the sticks. Then they can't get on the network, and they can't get on the home network. They can't get on the office network. They're just horrible pieces of software. And hopefully, if it was just a class driver and let Windows handle the communication, then that would be so much better for everyone.
Yeah, I agree with that. But that should be happening without RT anyway.
Yeah, but this may force. This is going to force the hands. If they're going to make it compatible with RT, then they'll have to do the class drivers and do that for both.
What I always find amusing is when you talk to any of the providers about those things, they say, "Oh, we do that to make it easier for the user."
Yeah, I know. We had terrible trouble with users with those. They have proxy settings and everything for the office. You plug one of them things in, 10 minutes later they can't go on any network at all apart from 3G.
Yeah,
and they're sat next to a wireless access point.
Yeah,
which is probably why they do it. So yeah, it doesn't make life simpler at all. So yeah, I think the class driver stuff will be a great idea. And as Rich said, I used tethering. So he's going to be hoping to use a Nokia 920 with LTE. That's one thing I was going to say though is the iPad. Obviously, there's options for LTE, and there's no Surface tablets include that at all.
True.
And I don't know if anybody's particularly bothered about that. I mean, I personally don't have any of the. I don't want a device tied to a contract or anything like that. I'm quite happy to use tethering.
Yeah.
But I know some people sort of swear by that. So some of the details. So it's the Surface is available in the stores from the 26th in the United States and Canada. And it's also going to be available in Australia, Canada, China, France, Germany, Hong Kong, UK, and like I said, the States. When I pre-ordered mine, it said it would be delivered on the 26th, which will be pretty good. And I suppose the other thing we've not talked about, have you seen the specs? Because some of the PR posts actually have some of the specs, which I'm not sure we've seen everything to do with these specs so far.
The specs are actually on the store as well, aren't they?
Yeah.
If I remember rightly. So see if I can find them.
Well, I've got them
Technical
here.
Specs.
Yeah. So it's got like the NVIDIA T30 CPU with 2 gig of RAM, wireless ABGN, Bluetooth 4, 2 720p cameras front and rear, 2 microphones, stereo speakers, USB 2, micro SD XC slot, headset jack, HD video port, which I guess is some kind of HDMI. I remember seeing it on the site actually. It was an optional extra, wasn't it? You could buy the cable.
Yep, for another small fortune.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't buy the cable. And of course, it's going to include all the all the Metro apps will be in there. So first of all, micro SD XC, is that will that take a normal micro SD card?
Yes, XC is just with the higher spec ones. So it's saying you can take SD and XC.
And that allows you. It says, I'm sure I remember seeing somewhere that that's to expand the storage, so you could use that as well, like you could on Android.
I assume so. I mean, it's part of the Windows storage, isn't it? So it should be okay to go in there.
Because I mean, that's certainly what I do on my Galaxy Note. Is I store all my music on the SD card, so I don't have any of the music on the phone itself. It's all on the SD card, but it makes no odds to me once, apart from the initial setup. So you've got a 32 gig device. You could get another 32 gig SD card, put all your music on there, and leaving the 32 gig free for other stuff as well. So I think that really does help with the iPad. You've not got that choice at all.
The two bits that I see missing, that's not to say they're not there, but is GPS and NFC.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of talk of NFC in demos and things about talking to the Surface, so I'll be surprised if it isn't there, but it doesn't say it is there.
No.
That's a very good point. It doesn't mention it at all, so you've got to assume it isn't.
I mean, GPS would be a bigger missing feature for me. NFC is probably something I'd maybe in the future regret not having, but I think for now I could probably live without it. But yeah, GPS is quite a big thing.
I suppose, is the GPS much of an issue if you've got sort of the wireless or sort of the location by USB by Wi-Fi?
Oh, I think so. I don't think you can ever get as good quality connection, accurate as you can with a proper GPS.
I think it might be a bit less of an issue if you had, the 3G connectivity built in, but I think without that, I think you certainly need, GPS, because people will use it for, I'm sure will use it for directions and things like that, and mapping and.
So I don't think the iPad has a GPS in, and the Wi-Fi one, does it? I'm pretty sure. I'll have to check now. I'm not sure it does. Maybe someone in the chat room can let us know.
I could tell you if I hadn't taken mine back.
I've got mine over there, but it's not going to tell me if I go on it. Is it?
See if the location surface is.
Yeah, I'll have a look while we're talking as well. Rich said USB 2 is disappointing, but I don't suppose you'd expect the Intel one will probably support USB 3, but not the ARM one. What else? Oh, I'm just having a look at the accessories. So the Surface HD AV cable adapter is 34 quid. So I guess that's some kind of HDMI cable.
Yeah, I think it's converted because it doesn't actually have a HDMI output. It just has video out.
And then there's a power supply for £34. So does it not come with a power supply?
Well, I'm hoping that's a spare one, but
otherwise it's a short experience.
That'd be fun for him. Comes pre-charged, used for 8 hours.
Enough
in
time
the box, power supply. That says.
It's enough time for you to get online to find out where the nearest place is that sells power supplies. And you can get a VGA adapter for 34 quid, which is about the same price, I think, as if you buy the Apple one, VGA adapter for the MacBook. And I think it's about that price, although I bought a cheap one off eBay, I think.
They seem to be saying about 8 hours for the RT as well, which seems a bit on the low side, considering some of the RT tablets from the other OEMs were kind of getting on. I appreciate that's obviously down to the size of the battery, but where's that compared to the iPad?
I don't know what the official time is, but I get a long time on my iPad. I've not charged this up for about a week, so it really, I don't use it all day, but the Nexus gives me, if I don't charge that every day, it'll probably run out within 2 days for similar usage. So I get much better battery on the iPad. So I'll be able to compare it like for like. I've just had a look on the iPad, and I can't find any GPS setting in location. I can't even find the setting for location services. So I've got.
Yeah, Rich says that there's no GPS in the Wi-Fi iPad.
Yeah, that's what I think. Yeah, so Rich is right. Yeah, so it's only the same thing then.
Yeah.
So if they've really took a long, hard look at the iPad, haven't they, and really gone straight head to head on it. But like you said earlier on, Gary, having the Office in there, even if it's whatever, £5 for documents to go or something like that for the iPad, it's still a saving, and at least I know that they're going to be supported. So I think that's definite advantage, and all the things that I do like Evernote, that'll be on there. Dropbox will be an interesting one because I really use that all the time, and if that's not there, that's going to be an issue because I'm not going to be able to install it, am I?
No.
So I'm a bit. So that may be where they'll drive you towards using SkyDrive. But anyway, so Jace, given the price that they are, is it the price you've been waiting for? Are you going to consider one?
Yeah, that is. I mean, that is the price I was expecting. Like anyone, I hoped it might be a little bit cheaper, but no, I think for me, it's given what the device is. It's got quality materials. It is more than just a consumption device. So yeah, I think for me, it's about what I was expecting. Just wish that Surface Touch cover had been included, but that's just me being a Brit, always looking for the best deal.
Well, I've got one hopefully coming next week, so I've got my order in. I think they've managed to get a bit of buzz today anyway about it, which is good. I still don't see why they couldn't just announce the price initially anyway, because it's not like it's a great shocker. But anyway, they've got the buzz today, and interested to see how it goes next week because I think there's an iPad Mini launching on the 23rd, or as an Apple event anyway.
Yeah, just to answer Rich, the only thing I can tell you is that the Iconia has got 32 gig SSD in it, and after installing Windows 8, which I appreciate isn't a direct comparison, there's probably maybe about half of that, I think, free, maybe a little bit more.
Yeah, I suspect there'll be a bit more. There'll be more free of that.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
Although
one
don't
would
forget
ho- one would ho-
Office is on there as well, though.
Well, one would hope a lot of that's in ROM though, rather than actually in the RAMs. At least I would hope so.
Yeah, that's interesting actually, Gary.
Yeah,
Good
that's a
point.
good
Because
point,
on the other tablets we've got, it's just firmware, isn't it? The operating system, whereas a Windows or a Mac or whatever is loaded off the disk. So I wonder whether this is that case where it is firmware or it is loaded off the disk.
Yeah.
I guess if it's firmware, does that make updating it a bit more tricky?
Just like the
patching.
iPad and a phone, isn't it? Just like Windows. Actually, that's a good point. What about Windows Phone? Does Windows Phone has got the full, say, 16 gig Windows Phone? Does it have virtually all the 16 gig free?
I'm trying to think, actually. I honestly don't think I've looked at mine when it's been freshly formatted.
Because I think something like the iPad doesn't have the full 16 gig free, but most of it is available. And the Android is similar. So a good question. So we'll find out next week anyway.
Yeah, you will.
Yeah, but we're going to find answers to most of these questions pretty quickly, aren't we? That's the thing.
The one thing I do like is the fact that it went on sale today and it's going to come next week. That is good.
Yeah.
Although I still think it would have been better if they put them on sale, when they announce them. But it is nice to know that it should be here next week for the Windows 8 launch.
Yeah. So, Gary, are we recording this show on the 30th of October from Ian's house?
Yeah, that could be good, couldn't it?
Halloween special.
Actually, yeah, the kids are away that night. Actually, my wife might not appreciate that.
I'm sure that Ian has pre-ordered one for all the presenters. Generous person he is.
And unfortunately, he's got to get out of jail card free there because it's only one per person. I'm sure he tried. I'm sure he tried.
And it said you could only have one. So
it is interesting that they are limiting it to one per person. They're obviously clearly trying to make sure that as many people get them as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose that's just hoarding of them, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know if Apple do that.
Oh, I wonder if Apple, I think, do a limit. I think I don't know whether it's one, but I think it was two. I think I remember seeing when it was on the iPhone. Our store's going to get these as well. Are we going to see these in Comet and Currys, or not Comet? It's fridges, don't they? Currys anyway.
The only thing I remember when there was that when the original story broke about, what was it, the $1,000 touch Surface RT, that Microsoft said, look, there's nothing to stop people buying them and selling them on.
Yeah,
but I wouldn't have thought that would be from launch. I would have thought that would be maybe a month or two after.
Well, Amazon
presumably,
yeah, have they? So they would be one of the first, I would have thought.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of
When it gets reduced to $299 a week later, in we'll all laugh.
Do you want me to ring you up on Skype when it arrives then and show you the pictures of it?
No.
But you will be laughing when well, anyway, you're quite welcome round on the 30th if you want to travel up the motorway and come and visit the surface.
Hello, surface.
Yeah.
It's getting sad by the moment.
It is, yeah. Right. So the next story I want to relate to this is you can tell we're getting close now. The Windows 8 pricing is and the packaging has been revealed, and I think Windows 8 is now available to order on Amazon, and one of the top sellers now. So we had a long Twitter debate with Edbot and various others about the pricing. So we'll go through that, but I'll just tell you what the Amazon have got first. They've got a £49 upgrade pack, which is to go from Windows 7, Vista, and I think XP as well, up to Windows 8 Pro, which I think is a great price. We've discussed in the past, £50. I think it's cheaper if you buy the electronic version, though. But anyway, so there's that. And then there's the Special N version, which is a great price of £189.99. I think, Jace, did you say something about it proves Microsoft do have a sense of humour?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Basically paying the full price to get less.
Yeah.
And then download the media add-on pack anyway.
Yeah. Can't see that being a top seller.
No.
And then there's the upgrade pack, the Windows 8 Pro pack, which takes you from Windows 8 Standard Edition or just Windows 8. And it's £129. And then we had a big debate about where do you get Media Center in all this. So as far as I can see, and Ed and Jason and Gary, you can chip in on this. If you've got Windows 7 and then you get the upgrade, you get the Pro Pack and Media Centers included as a free option, but you've got to actually select it go to the add feature thing, but it's not chargeable. If you've got a Windows 8 machine that you buy, so you're buying a new laptop on the 26th and it comes with Windows 8 Standard Edition and you want Media Center, that's going to cost you £129 for the Pro Pack, and we still don't know what the extra Media Center charge is on top of that. Is that right?
Yeah, although it seems likely it's going to be free on top of it, but for the time being anyway.
Because I think during the conversations, I think there was kind of, I think Ed was missing the point I was trying to make, was how expensive it will be if you buy a new laptop or a tablet with running Windows 8 and you want to upgrade to, and you want to add something like Media Center. It's going to cost you £129. Certainly from next year, once the all the discounts have been finished.
Yeah,
I think at the moment we don't really know specifically how many Windows 8 machines are going to come with standard on them, as opposed to the Pro.
Right.
But as I as we were talking about on Twitter, I think it's unlikely that anyone that's buying a PC with Standard Edition is probably going to be a Media Center user anyway. I think those people are either going to have Media Center already and be upgrading to Windows 8, or they're going to be building their own box and buying the Windows 8 Pro home builder, the OEM license. But if they buy that, they would still need to pay the extra for Media Center. I think by far the cheapest option is to get the upgrade. I know the Microsoft Store has got the digital upgrade for £25, which includes the Media Center upgrade.
Yeah, which is a really good price.
Yeah, and I saw quite a bit of information out there about the fact that by choosing that upgrade option, you're skipping having physical media, but there is options in the upgrade wizard to burn it to a DVD or copy it to a flash drive, so you can make your own media.
Yeah, I mean, you'd only do that, I suppose, as an emergency kind of recovery situation anyway.
Yes.
But what do you think of the packaging then? I think really it's pretty much virtual packaging nowadays, but I suppose it is actually going to exist in a physical box if you buy it off Amazon.
Yeah, it's colourful.
It kind of matches the theme, doesn't it? I mean, it's a bit metro-ish, and yeah, it's not bad at all.
Yeah. So really, what we're saying, I think what Ed Bob said in his comments as well, is that if you're going to be a media center user, you make sure you get the Pro version of Windows 8 on whatever you order. Don't do the jump yourself because it's going to cost you an extra £129.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, one good bit of news on RT, because I'm not sure this will work on RT, but it should do, is that the DVB Link Windows 8 client that someone's been working on has now been approved for the App Store.
Ah,
excellent.
So that's actually really good news, because that actually is something which did require a server, third-party server, and that was actually sort of one of the things where they said there was an exception for the App Store. But the guy who's provided it has, I think, what he's done is he's actually provided a server with it, which you can use, which doesn't use DVB Link.
right.
So you can get around it that way, but it has been published, so that's excellent news. So it looks like people are going to find a way around some of these App Store marketplace restrictions.
Yeah, because I mean, there's a Windows Phone client for DVB Link, so surely that would have the same limitation.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm only going on what people have said on some of the people on Twitter, and I know Neil Ginsberg has said quite a few times, and maybe he wants to feed back on this, that there seems to be more restrictions on the Windows 8 store than there is actually on Windows Phone. Certainly, I knew this guy. This is one of the reasons I was just checking it, because I knew this guy had been struggling to get it published.
Right.
It'd been rejected about 4 or 5 times before he got it through.
Yeah, because you wouldn't say DVB Link or Seaton or anybody that produces remote control type things. They're always reliant on a server of some form, aren't they?
Yeah. So, but yeah, so basically what he's done is created. He says, "I set up a tiny server that emulates DVB Link Connect server, so Microsoft shouldn't have any problems validating it." So,
I see. Maybe it's on that. Yeah, it just seemed more restrictive than a phone.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going on again. I haven't read them. I should get around to reading this Windows Store thing. I just haven't had the time. But from what Neil was saying, it seems to be that you can only have a sort of like a complete package. So Microsoft are trying to encourage it that if you download that app, that's all you need. You don't need to buy anything else.
Right.
But obviously things like which need a back end server, that's a bit more problematic for.
Yeah, like a weather app or whatever. You want it. Although I suppose that's a cloud-based one.
Yeah, cloud-based is fine. As long as it's cloud-based, you can just download. As long as that you don't need to buy a server and install a server, then I think you're fine. So I think that's the way the restrictions. But having seen that, I mean that now makes having a Surface a much more attractive idea.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, and I think that would be that'd be really good if you get that a good client on there, because I mean that matches up with what you can already get for Android and iOS anyway. So I think
it's a third party one, but it does actually look really good.
I'm sure the DV Link guys will be looking as well, won't they?
Yeah, well, I mean they have been supporting this guy writing this one, so I think
right.
So
I suppose if they don't, as long as it works, that's good for them, because they don't make any money out of the clients anyway.
No, they don't. It's a server they want to sell. So
excellent.
If I can get in the chat room, which seems to have just thrown me out. I was just about to drop the link into it.
Would that still have some kind of EPG built into it, Gary?
Yeah, it would use the EPG from the DVB Logic side of things. So it's basically got the full phone. Have a link. It's in the chat room. So
well, there you go.
Sure, Ian can put that into the show notes as well.
I'll add that in. Right.
Follow directory not found.
Oh, that's good, isn't it?
Okay, I won't put it in.
It was on the App Store. That was the Windows page. Okay, let's try it. I'll give you another link. So that was good, wasn't it? That was on there about 2 seconds ago. I just tried it. It was working.
Right, while you look for that, so I mentioned moving platforms completely. A bit of Raspberry Pi news.
Yep.
And this is why now this is a good example of what I love about the Raspberry Pi is that it progresses all the time and just gets better and better. So the latest announcement is that the Model B, which is the one with the Ethernet port on that we've all been buying anyway, which is also now made in the UK, is going to start shipping with 512 meg memory instead of 256, and it's still the same price. And in fact, they've said anybody that's ordered that's got a back order waiting of the board when they ordered it as 256 is going to get 512. So I think that's great that they kept it the same price and everything's compatible, but you just get the extra memory.
I guess that's a big boost for people that are looking to use them as media center type boxes.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the key things that's driven this is to run Java and to run Android 4.0 on it as well, because I think Android needs the extra memory. So that would be pretty good. And I know that one of the XBMC developers, the developer of Raspberry MC, said that actually it doesn't make a huge amount of difference to something like XBMC, but it does give you more memory to play with. Maybe if you allocate more to the video things and video drivers, so it won't necessarily improve its performance, but it does give you that option to overhead. But I suppose you've got a bit of fragmentation in them there now, so you've got you could potentially have two different memories to support. But I think it's great though that it's not a Model C that costs an extra $5 or whatever, which they could have quite easily done and sold. They've kept it the same and made it compatible and even honouring existing orders. So I think that's a really nice a nice thing that they've done on that. So great to see the Raspberry Pi sort of continue to go from strength to strength.
Yeah, no, it's really good. It's good to see them continue to add it, and as you know, it's good to see as parts come down in price that they're using it to add to the device rather than just increasing the profit margins.
Yeah.
I'm glad I hung on and didn't buy one to start with.
Yeah, well,
get an extra one.
I think mine might go in the museum, my little museum here. I continue to keep breaking my installations of it though, and but the great thing is I can just put them all back on again. In fact, just to round up this bit on the Raspberry Pi, I think since we last talked, there's been another update for Raspberry MC, which includes some other things like IPv6 support and an updated kernel, a VPN features as well. So just by rebooting Raspberry MC, it'll do that. And the XBMC in general, the September cycle, they do their sort of monthly cycles now. That includes the Raspberry Pi components in there and the PVR components as well. So that's sort of baked in now to XBMC. Diehard says, a question in the chat room, Squeeze Player server on the Pi. Yeah, it works. I've got a version of Squeeze Player working. I think I did a post on that quite a while ago now. So there's definitely a server build that you can install things like different sort of DLNA type servers. Okay, talked a lot of time of service, so I want to go grab a couple more topics. Seaton announced their Echo Media Center extender. Do you see this, Gary?
I did, yes. And as expected, really. Well, it looks quite a nice bit of kit.
Yeah, I'm on the beta, so I should get my device fairly soon. I think they've said before November, hasn't it, for most beta users anyway.
Yeah.
So it's very small anyway. It's a really compact unit, remote control, no wireless on it though. I actually thought it was a bit of a surprise that because it kind of
it's also I see why you don't do well because so maybe just easy to sort of box.
I lost you there, Gary.
I said it's only my standards.
Turned into a robot.
You turned into definitely turned into a robot.
My back. I'm still
You sound like a kind of a Dalek doing the Digital Lifestyle show. It really does now.
So I'll come back.
No, we're still not getting you. We're getting you in packets of 20 bytes a second.
Need to turn up those. Need to boost those dilithium crystals.
Have my dilithium crystals only been improved?
Oh, that sounds better. You sound human again.
Yeah, I just disconnected Skype and came back on. I seem to sometimes fix that problem. Now, as I was saying, that there's so many different Wi-Fi standards. It must be really difficult to actually choose which one you want to go with, especially with all the new standards coming up. So, in some ways, it makes sense to just have an Ethernet cable in the back and do the same as most of the smart TVs do, where you plug some sort of external box to it.
I think as well with Wi-Fi, it makes it so hard to guarantee the quality for every consumer, doesn't it? Because everyone's got their wireless set up differently. Like, for example, my wireless is a part of my router, which is plugged near the master socket. So the anything like, for example, the Xbox connected to that, anything it's streaming off the off the home server actually then goes from the wireless onto the home plug network. So I think at least with it being wired, they can guarantee the HD quality.
I suppose, but then I've got something like the Apple TV, which has got the Ethernet port, but it's got the wireless on as well, which is why I was quite surprised. I thought, but I can understand exactly why they've done it for the quality and for the cost, I would imagine as well, because I think the price is going to be $179. So I don't know what that's going to be when it comes over here.
There's quite a bit of discussion, I think, on Twitter with that price. I think it was more than people were expecting. But I think it's important to remember what the was it the D-Link extender was like $299 or something, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, the D-Link and the Linksys were both expensive, and were a bit of a failure really. And there was a HP one as well, so it's not the first go at these things. But I think they have certainly got the form factor quite nice on there. So.
I think it's also important to consider as well that there must be some licensing costs in there for the extender software. So I think it's a fair price. Seaton at the end of the day is a relatively small company. They need to charge some. They need to recoup their costs. They can't necessarily afford to sell it at a loss. But I wouldn't be surprised if, assuming that it's successful and continues to sell, in maybe 6 to 12 months, it will come down to maybe the $99 mark.
Yeah, and I suppose someone like Apple, who is selling these Apple TVs, a low margin, but they sell so many of them. This is a specialist product. It's not a general consumer device, although it is a consumer device. It's not going to be sold, or it's not going to be shipping them out off like they ship out Apple TVs, are they? They're for a group of enthusiasts, so they're bound to be a higher price.
Yeah. I mean, it's economies of scale, isn't it? And it just doesn't, unfortunately, as we say too often, it doesn't have scale.
Yeah. But it's nice to have the option. And I really do wish the best for Seaton with this, because they're one of the few companies even doing any media center support, as we talked about last week. So I think I hope this does well for them. And in certain, I can imagine it, in for specific needs, doing really well. And there are still people that don't want an Xbox 360 as an extender.
Yeah, and I think at the end of the day, they're also supporting their cable card sales as well, because the people buying cable cards are the people with that want the extenders. So if they can keep those people happy with a multi-room setup, then hopefully they should kind of extend their life.
So it'd be nice if we can get Media Center Windows 8 so we can try one of these things.
It would.
Because I think initially, is that this is designed to work with Windows 7, and I think they're planning to roll it out over to Windows 8 as well. So I'll be looking forward to seeing this during the testing period, and I shall be giving it a try.
Yeah, I think sad to say, I think Media Center days might be numbered in our household. I think more often than not, getting some understandable grief about the quality of the guide data, and it's really impacting the experience, and stuff doesn't record, and it's not always, I've tried using the DigiGuide source and tried using all different sources, and it just doesn't ever seem to have quite the high quality that Sky does, which is a shame. It shows that it clearly not repeats, are flagged as repeats, and I've even checked some of the broadcaster information, and they still show it as a repeat even though it's not. So
yeah, that's one thing I've noticed with Sky, is the quality of the guide data is very good.
Yeah.
Because you get that guide data off the Sky stream. Probably not. I'm just trying to think with something like DB Logic guide in stream guide readers.
Yeah.
I would imagine you could get it through FreeSat.
Yeah. Guide data is a problem anyway. We're quite lucky with our quality of our guide data in the UK. Not as good as the US one, but far better than you get somewhere place like Australia or somewhere like that. I mean, it's just we're reasonably lucky. But yeah, I know what you're saying. It's always going to be the case that the broadcast. Well, I say always going to be the case that the broadcasters get it right. Virgin don't always get it right on their stuff, but the Sky obviously on their own channels do tend to get it right.
I think I think in some ways we found each solution I've tried kind of comes with its compromise. So we tried setting up DVB Link to use the over-the-air stuff, but in there is its own algorithm to try and tie up the program IDs, and we were getting some series where it was recording just random programs because for whatever reason DVB Link had matched two programs with the same ID even though they weren't. So it's clearly Oberon's doing his absolute best, but when you try and make something do something it's not designed to do, you're going to come into edge cases that don't fit that logic. So
yeah. And the only really truly beneficial guide data if it comes over the air properly, because otherwise,
yes,
if the program's changed, you really need to know that as it comes up. So I've always thought that's the real answer, is a combination of preloaded guide data and the over the air stuff, but nothing really does that properly.
No.
Yeah, that's one thing I've been impressed with Sky is the quality of the data. Right, just two more things before we're nearly out of time. Just want to quickly mention Xbox Music launching on the Xbox 360 and Windows RT and Windows Phone 8. So there's various options. There's the offline purchasing plans, sort of traditional MP3 purchasing, and free ad-supported streaming. So that actually looks quite a nice service.
Yeah, it does. I know people have said that after 6 months the free streaming service goes down to 10 hours a month, which I think is a bit tight.
Yeah, that's a bit limiting. Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's free music, so there has
Yeah.
to be some limitations somewhere. They need a way to upsell you at some point.
Yeah. And what else was going to mention? Boxy have got a new Boxy TV coming out, but we could probably talk about that next week. And Hopper have got a new live HD streaming box, which looks quite good. It would be great for our event to do a bit live streaming, but a link for that in the show notes as well.
Yeah. One thing I just wanted to mention, just as a follow up, we had the Orbit Sound T9 at the user group, which I haven't been on the show since. So I just wanted to do a very quick mini review on it, because people may have read my review of the bigger box, which I quite liked after I got used to the sound. This uses the same technology. Sound is amazing. What really impresses me is scientifically the subwoofer shouldn't work, but it does. The whole thing seems to mesh together nicer. And I have to say, I think it's actually a better sound than the bigger speaker bar. And for most people's room, I think it will work better than the bigger speaker bar works, because you don't need the huge size bar. Anybody who was at the user group know how much that filled the room.
You could hear Albert all over the room.
You could hear Albert all over the room. It's only because that was A in the playlist, but yeah. And we had it on for Andrew, and he didn't turn up. But when I turned it right up, people were asking. People couldn't hear themselves speak. So, for a very small box, it's only. It's hard to explain without seeing it, but pictures will do it justice. It's only a little bit wider than an iPad, and it really does. Combined with the subwoofer, it's a really good sound and good value for money as well. So, highly recommended.
Excellent. It was a good sound. I was impressed with that, and especially with combined with the J River and the multi-room stuff. I thought that was a really nice setup you got.
Yeah, it was. It worked really well.
Yeah, and I did publish a video of that as well. So if you check out some of the user group videos, you'll see that that's included on there. Oh, and I posted a video of the Sonos Sub. Now that sounded great when I tried that. It's expensive. It's like 600 quid for a subwoofer, but it really makes a massive difference. And me and the lads were enjoying that when wife was out. So I had that turn right up.
and half the streets shook to pieces.
Yeah, I was a bit sad when they had to turn that back.
Yeah.
But probably neighbours were probably quite glad.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I think that's all we've got time for this week. So it's good to have you back, Gary, and thanks for joining us again, Jason.
Yeah, thanks very much. And I'd just like to say, if there's you see anyone loitering at your house outside your house next week with a black balaclava on, it's not me.
All you'll get is my Android tablet. You'll be very disappointed.
Yeah. Anybody flying to the States next week?
That's what I was thinking about the touch keyboard, the proper keyboard. I thought maybe if I go to CES, it might be cheaper just to get one of those keyboards while I'm over there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Will there be a Windows store in Vegas by then?
Well, there's a pop-up store in the Fashion Mall, or opening this week, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, next week, sorry. Whether it be still there at CES, you would think so, wouldn't you?
You would.
It's probably right opposite the Apple store in that little bit down there as well.
We'll be able to use their free Wi-Fi as well.
Yeah, you never know. Right, well, just give us your Twitter links before we go.
I'm at Gary WMA with 2 R's.
And I'm at Database Jace.
Yep.
With no R's.
No. So thanks very much, and thanks to everybody in the chat room. And yeah, we should see you back same time next week.
Look forward to it.
Okay, thanks everybody in the chat room. I'm just gonna stop the live stream. Okay, and stop the recording.